Hi folks, thanks for joining us. I am back in Unity Playground and I'm looking at ways to switch screens. So we can do this a few ways. You can always load a new level, but when you load a new level, you lose score. And so there might be some ways that we can fix that, but with the built-in Unity Playground functions, the easiest way to make something like this happen is to set up a new camera and toggle them on and off. So let's take a look at how we do just that. I'm going to go ahead and end my testing. I'm going to delete a couple things that were what I had set up, and I'm going to redo them. So right now, I have set up a screen with a fixed camera on that screen. And then I've set up another area, which I intend to be another screen. And I'm going to have two cameras, and I'm going to set up a trigger that switches between those cameras. So once you have your two levels or two screens set up, you take your main camera and you duplicate it. And I like to rename this to second camera. And once I have it set up as second camera, I'm going to turn it off. Actually, wait, before I turn it off, I have to put it in position. So let's use our move tool and slide it over. Get it so that it's in the right position. Double check in our viewport that it looks good. Compare it with the first camera. That's looking great. And once I have it all set, then I'm going to turn it off. I am then going to create a new trigger. I like to do this by right-clicking in the hierarchy and creating an empty object. And this is going to be my trigger cam switch. And I'm going to add component to this, which is going to be a box collider 2D. And let's put that in roughly the right position. Zoom in a little bit. And then I'm going to scale this up. What am I doing? Size, there we go. Making sure that it's not hitting the other objects, getting it right about center. And then I'm going to add another component to this, which is going to be what happens when the box collider triggers. And that is going to be a condition of type area. So whenever you're working with condition area, we remember that we need to set this to isTrigger. IsTrigger means that you don't actually get stopped, but you move through it. And when you overlap it, condition area is triggered. We're going to make sure that we're filtering by tag and that we're looking for just the player in order to trigger this. And we're going to add a couple functions down here. We're going to do an on-off. And that first on-off is going to be to turn on the second camera. And then the next on-off is going to be to turn off the main camera. Well, actually, it's not to turn on and off, but it's actually just to switch their state. So the nice thing will be, as I move back and forth, it should allow me to move back and forth by turning on and off the correct cameras. Okay, let's do one double check. My blue player should be tagged as player. That's fabulous. And I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And now, when I move through that opening, it will switch to the other camera. And then it will switch back. Fabulous. Now, this is going to allow me to keep my score consistent from one thing to another. If I look for a star, do I have a collectible star? I think if I put a collectible star into the scene, turn it down in scale, and then let's duplicate it and put another one over here. Let's just double check that. So I collect one star, I have a score of 1. I go in the other room, I collect a second star, and I have a score of 2. Getting around some of the issues of loading levels and not being able to pass variables from one to the next. Fabulous. Okay, so this is fully working. If that's all you needed, you can stop here. But if you want to make this a sequence of cameras, this is where it starts getting a little bit tricky. So if I go into my grid and I say, all right, let's make a third, right? I'll go to our tile map. Let's open that up. let's create a world of green that's over here. Oops, that was terrible. Some of this down below. And let's go ahead and make a new portal here. Let's get rid of that tree because it's not actually a background. It is a part of the collision layer. And let's go ahead and take that star collectible and duplicate it again and move a third one over here. And then what I should be able to do is take this trigger cam switch and duplicate it and swap some things out, but it could get a little tricky. So what I might want to do here is if I know that I'm going to have 3 areas and 3 cameras, could be a good idea to actually duplicate this camera first. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. Make this my 3rd camera. Let's get that into the correct position. There we go. Now, it's probably a good idea for me to close off that end so that someone doesn't fall off and then the game leaves them hanging in Never Never Land. So let's go ahead and that was the wrong one. Put those and these in here. And of course, the assets I'm using here are from Kenney.nl, the pixel platformer package. Fabulous stuff for getting you started on some of your first games. Okay, so this trigger cam switch, I'm going to have 3 cameras. So I want to always make sure as you get more complex, there might be the ability to say, jump over this wall. And then you might come and hit this trigger without having hit this trigger. So you want to make sure that camera 3 is off. And a lot of that can get pretty tricky. But for right now, I'm just going to do this very simply. I'm going to take this, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to move this over here, and then I'm going to change these on-off actions that are on this specific trigger switch. And I might rename these trigger 1, 2 cam. And let's name this trigger 2, 3 cam. Oops. Oh, I just undid all my naming, didn't I? All right. Bear with me while I fix that. Okay, so now I can keep it straight and make sure that 2 and 3 is going to turn off. And just out of good habit, I might make sure that the one at the top is the one that I'm leading with, and the one at the bottom is the one that I'm coming from. This should be all set up nicely, although my 3rd camera is still on. I need to turn that one off, and I should now be able to playtest. Oh, I can see one tile right there that needs to be fixed. We'll fix that later. Okay, so score 1, score 2, and I can get to the 3rd room and have score 3. Fabulous. Okay, so there we go. There is a quick and easy way to make sure that your score is being maintained while allowing you to move from screen to screen. Obviously, if you're using camera follow on your character, this is not something that you need to utilize. This is for people who like to have the screen stay fixed and have the character move within the screen. All right, I hope that helped you make your games, and let me know if you run into any problems in the comments. Cheers.